I want to thank you for joining me for this week in review. You know, there is a movie in the theaters right now called Redeeming Love, and it's based loosely on the book of Hosea. Are you familiar with that book? In that book, in verse, It's chapter 8 and verse 7, there is a warning, and it says this: if you sow the wind, you'll reap the whirlwind. Well, Hosea lived in I think it was about the mid 750 BC, and he was a prophetic man. And during his time, it was a beautiful time because Israel really was prospering and at peace, and it was unparalleled since the time of Solomon. But what happened was they compromised and they became complacent and they began to follow after false gods. And what happened was, another army, the Assyrians, came in. They destroyed the capital of Samaria. And God told them in the warning what had happened. He said, if you sow the wind, you'll reap the whirlwind. Well, I apply that to America today because many people don't realize the gravity of the situation, the perilous times in which we're living. Let me give you some examples, and then I'm going to give you some good news at the end. But let's face some brutal realities. You know, when you just look at movies today, I happened to look at a poster the other day, and a word for donkey is jackass. And there's a movie out, and it's called Jackass Forever. It's part of a series that keeps running, and it's directed at young people. Well, if you read some of the reviews on it, it is absolutely vile, perverse. There's over 100 expletives, all kinds of perverse activity, and yet this is making tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions, and it's directed at youth. There's another movie, it just came out, it's called X. And it sounds innocent about some young people that want to make a movie and they're going out to a rural area. The only thing is the movie they want to make is a pornographic film. And if you read the review on it, it's people unclothed. They're actually involved in pornography. And that's what's depicted with blatant unclothed individuals and perverse activity. And, it's directed at youth. It's a horror film, a slasher film. And young people are packing in to go and see it. This is indicative of what Hollywood does. Well, it's just part of the culture today, just like music. I mentioned in the last week in review, the big hit globally is a song right now that is A, B, C, D, E, F, U. And what is it? Gail, the singer, she's talking about breaking off in a relationship, and then it's mean-spirited and contempt and involvement in really attacking a young man. And throughout the video in the song, she keeps using the expletive F constantly, and also a gesture. And, talks of lesbian dating and all that. Well, this is a global hit right now, and she's on tour. This is the big hit. We see this in sports and entertainment. Think about what's going on in sports right now and entertainment. The transgender push. Biden said that this is the civil rights issue of our day, and he was going to prioritize it. Well, on Jeopardy, what do you have? You have a guy that goes on and says he's a woman and he's the greatest winner, and now he's won over $1 million. But he says, well, I'm a woman. And then you have, USA Today. Well, they have their Woman of the Year, Women of the Year. And who do? They take a guy that Biden put in his cabinet, and they say that this guy, married 50 years, a man, divorced with children. Well, he says he's a woman now. So let's make him now what? We'll call him Woman of the Year. Same thing with the NCAA, swimming. Think of it. Just recently, a guy, yes, handsome, check him out on the screen. Well, he decides a little bit ago, I'm going to be, what did he say? I'm going to be a woman. And then he says, I want to train for the Olympics. So he enters. He breaks the records because he's a man with his physical being, testosterone and all the rest of that. And the NCAA and Hollywood and others, they claim this. This is great. This is, a woman. But imagine what this is going to mean when somebody like that goes on into the Olympics. The confusion, the insanity. It's what Romans says, that people can be thinking they're wise, but they become fools. And that's what's happening today. And we have to be very discerning and very guarded with our families and our children. There's something else that's corrupt today, and that's politics. And I'm going to read to you and put it on the screen. Recently, the man, Joe Biden, was asked, what is the cause of inflation and high gas prices? Well, I'm going to tell you what he said, but it's a lie. Look on the screen. Here's what he said. The exact quote from Joe Biden was this: let's be absolutely clear. Prices are high now. They're high. Why? For two reasons, he said. One was COVID, and now the second one, big reason he called it for inflation, is Vladimir Putin, gas prices. We're seeing the prices of gas go up $1 since he put his troops on the border of the Ukraine. Well, you know what? Keep looking at the screen, because here's the truth. Number one, the inflation rate in America, January the 21st, before Biden took over, was 1.4% under Mr. Trump. There was no inflation for 4 years. But the inflation rate 1 year later, January 21st of 22, what was it? It shot up, and it's 7.5%, an increase of 464%. That was before Putin. And then also gas prices. What were they? $2.31 national average with Mr. Trump, January 21st, 2021. But 1 year later with Mr. Biden, they went up, get this, 40% to $3.53, and that is before Putin and the invasion. Now, why did this happen? Well, it's because Mr. Biden attacked the energy industry in America. And with restrictions and regulations and stopping a pipeline, we are all suffering. And when you say 353, by the time you're hearing this, you know we're in the mid fours. And they say by the 4th of July, we'll probably be in 6 or 7. Well, the White House, of course, they want to put forth propaganda, and Mr. Biden is untruthful. They brought 30 influencers from TikTok to reach young people. And one of the girls that was there told what happened. And they were being told, we got to push this kind of narrative, and this is the propaganda. They don't use that term, but they want to influence the youth in America. But they're telling misinformation. Well, we have to stop and say, well, where is this taking us as a nation? We need a great awakening. A great awakening is the only hope for America, and I say that in all seriousness. Some people say, no, Larry, well, yeah, that's true, but man, wait till the 2024 election. That's when we're going to change things, and, in the midterms, we're going to get rid of all these leftist progressives and all that. Well, you know what? I think we do need to get rid of leftist progressives that are really toppling this country and influencing with policies and all kinds of things that are destructive. But the answer is not, first and foremost, legislation or education. The answer is regeneration. In other words, the born-again experience, people being, converted. And that's where it comes to you and me, and we have an honor and a responsibility and a privilege as ambassadors. Jesus said he came to seek and save the lost. And that's what brings about transformation. Don't put your hopes first and foremost in the political realm, although we are called to be salt and light and very much engaged. People wonder what's going to happen in the coming days. Well, let me tell you this. I believe personally, Mr. Biden is not going to run for a second term. The Democrats, they're not going to admit it, but because of his dismal record and all the disaster he's brought to this nation, you know what? They don't want him to run either. The Wall Street Journal did a poll recently, and get this, only 29% of Americans would want him to run again. Now that includes Democrats. And when they asked the Democrats, 41% of Democrats believe that he shouldn't run. Well, you say, Larry, where's that going to leave us? I believe he'll say he's going to pass the torch. He gave his time. But then you say, well, Larry, who's going to be next? Will it be Kamala Harris? Heaven forbid. She makes him look good. Isn't that honest? She's an embarrassment on the whole global scene. Then others say, well, Hillary's starting to test the waters already. I don't believe. She's not likable. She's lost. She doesn't have the win. You say, well, who's going to be the one to run? I believe Mr. Trump is going to run. I believe he's made it clear it's not going to be Mr. Mike Pence as a vice president alongside. He'll look to others. Could be Governor DeSantis. We don't know for sure. But I can tell you this. He'll pass the torch, and the one that'll be in the wings will be Michelle Obama. I don't know for sure. I don't think she likes to campaign, but she could wait till the last minute. Not campaign. She's a woman. She's black. And she has Barack Obama at her side. So you look what's coming. But I want to say this. The answer is first and foremost in hearts being changed as we proclaim the gospel, which is the power of God unto salvation. And that's where you and I come in, and as pastors, equipping our people. I want to encourage you in this realm in terms of sharing the gospel. I had a phone call last week, a man from Colorado, and I spoke with him, and he said, Larry, I just called to say thank you. And what was he thanking me for? He said, Larry, in 1973, you led me to the Lord right there in Akron. Well, what happened to this? Because of one sharing the gospel with one man, he took his Bible, he got discipled, trained, and in a while he started a ministry called Joshua Force. And then he's gone to over 40 nations of the world. And now he's in Saudi Arabia. He's planted 6 churches. But what was it? The gospel transformed him, and now he's helping transform lives. I'll tell you something else. I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was in a band called The Lost Souls. I'm going to put on the screen. I want you to see it. Our album just came out, believe it or not. But in Cleveland, the home of the Hall of Fame, and that's where Joe Walsh from the Eagles and Eric Carmen and others, a hot spot. Well, we were in a band, but you know what? I was a lost soul. My best friend died. He got involved in drugs and alcohol and immorality, but somebody shared the gospel with me. And that was over 50 years ago. And now I've been in full-time ministry. I share the gospel. I equip people. I do my podcast, video recordings. I pass out personal testimony tracts wherever I can. I encourage you. I have a series that's free on YouTube. It's called Loving Lifestyle Evangelism. It'll transform your life, your church, your Bible study. Just go there, Loving Lifestyle Evangelism. There's these 5 20-minute videos, and they're right there to equip you. The only hope for America today is another great awakening. Let's be frank and honest about it. So thank God we can be involved politically and know what's going on. We're not going to isolate or ignore, but you and I are called, go into all the world and proclaim the gospel, with signs following, that lives be transformed and this nation can turn back to God as a result of our involvement.